Great. Good morning, everybody. It's 9 a.m. Pacific time and many other times around the world as people from around the globe have joined us for our conference. We are just about to kick off our featured session. And so before we do that, I'd like to go over just a few items to make sure people know that you can turn on the Zoom captions if you would like to use those. You just go down to the tools at the bottom of the Zoom window and select either caption, or sometimes it's hidden under the More button with the three dots, and you just choose the captions option and say turn captions on. We also encourage questions and comments in the chat as our speakers are giving their presentation. They may want to hear about your own efforts. Maybe you've been part of their grant project and want to just cheer them on as they talk about the results that they're going to present. Please use that chat for questions and comments. And then last but not least, we are just really grateful that you're all here. So I want to give as much time as possible to our speakers. So let me introduce Kimberly Vincent-Layton from Cal Poly Humboldt, Michelle Pacansky-Brock from Foothill College, and Michael Smedshammer from Modesto Junior College, where they are going to kick us off with scaling humanized online teaching in STEM across California.
Thank you, Kevin, and hello, everyone. I'm going to get us started with today's session. Kim, Mike, and I are delighted to be here and would like to thank you for featuring this session at the start of this amazing fourth online equity conference, Peralta Online Equity Conference. This is really important work to everyone here today, I know, and we are here to showcase and share a project that we've been working on now for actually almost 5 years. And I really want to stress that because this is a project that started before COVID. And sometimes when we present in this context, there's the implicit message that this came about as a result of COVID. So online education is something that we feel very strongly about. Everyone here, we feel like we're really part of our true community here. And so it's very exciting. We have a link that I'm going to put in the chat that will get you to a page that has our slides and some other resources. If that's something that you find helpful, please feel free to utilize it as we go. Okay, so the project that we're here to share is a project that focuses on professional development. It focuses on professional development as equity infrastructure. And we developed, as part of this project, a professional development program called the Humanizing Online STEM Academy. Our project has been funded by 2 grants from the California Education Learning Lab. The grants have been administered by the Foothill De Anza Community College District, and we've had sub-awards go to UC Irvine, Cal Poly Humboldt, and Modesto Junior College. And I'm emphasizing that because it's rather unique to see grant projects that are intersegmental and span all 3 systems of public higher education in the state of California. And so that's something that we're very proud of. The Academy itself, which again is the professional development program, is a 6-week online equity-focused PD program. It's fully asynchronous, and I really want to underscore that. There is nothing about it that is in Zoom. It's all asynchronous, and that's very intentional. It's designed and taught in Canvas, and it's taught by what we call warm demander facilitators. Warm demander is a phrase from the research that relates to culturally responsive teaching. It goes all the way back to the 1970s from the work of a scholar named Judith Kleinfeld, who did research on indigenous successful learning and teaching and learning environments with indigenous students. And the Academy itself is designed and facilitated to model the model. So here today, in the brief time that we're with you, we're going to be walking you through some parts of the Humanized online teaching model. And I want to emphasize that there's a course design piece to the model as well as a pedagogy piece. The pedagogy piece we don't really have too much time to get into today. The project itself has had broad participation across the state of California. We've had 327 people complete the academy. These are primarily STEM faculty. We also did invite faculty support specialists from our partner institutions to complete the academy as well. Those include instructional designers and others in like roles, because we understand and want to recognize and value their work in supporting teaching innovations across our institutions. We've also had 17 different public higher education institutions participate, 13 California community colleges, which are listed on the screen here and shown in the map on the left, and 4 California State University universities as well. So what is the problem that we are focused on improving with our project and with the Humanizing Online STEM Academy? Well, we know that research shows that racial and ethnic and gender equity gaps are worse in STEM than any other discipline cluster. And while efforts in recent decades have dramatically increased the number of racially minoritized students and women students entering STEM programs in higher education, attrition rates are still abysmal. So we're recruiting more diverse students, but our programs are not retaining them at the same rates as white and Asian students and males. Often we hear equity gaps cited as the problem to solve. And we're framing that just a little bit differently. We want to think more about equity gaps as the outcome of the problem and not the problem itself. The problem that we're focusing on is within the teaching and learning environment in STEM education. And we in particular are focusing on online classes, asynchronous online classes. So let's dig into this topic a little bit more. When we peek inside the research on the topic of the insides of online teaching and learning in STEM, there's a steady thread of knowledge about learning conditions. And learning conditions relate to the way students experience their classes or the way they feel as a student in a class or a student on a campus. For our purposes, we're talking about in a class. You, me, everyone in attendance today, and every student ever asks the question, do I belong here? Every day in every situation. Your brain does this without even knowing it. This is the thread that we're following here in the research about belonging. Belonging is one of these learning conditions. Belonging is a basic human need. It is a measure we use to determine when to stick around and when to take off. It is motivational. Humans are social beings that are wired for social inclusion. We want to be valued by others and treated with dignity. And if we unpack belonging a little bit more, it's really helpful to think about belonging as different from fitting in. I've heard them correlated, and this is definitely the way we're interpreting these concepts. But for us, belonging is not the same as fitting in the work that we're doing. We're thinking about fitting in rather as a dignity violation. When a person feels the need to fit in, they're cued to change who they are. Fitting in is toxic and it's stressful. And it has been shown in research to activate the same parts of the human brain as physical pain. I'm going to say that again. Fitting in is stressful and toxic and has been shown to activate the same parts of the human brain as physical pain. Fitting in likely leads to disengagement and complete withdrawal. And for those who don't leave, it interferes with a person's ability to do what they're capable of doing. And over time, it causes health problems, and it can even lead to a lower life expectancy. Belonging, on the other hand, is being accepted for one's true, authentic self. And it's a privilege that many people don't have. We know from research that college students who experience belonging are more likely to complete a course, they're more likely to continue to the next academic year, and they're more likely to achieve their goals. And we know that students who identify with non-dominant social identities are less likely to experience belonging. There's one more feature of belonging that I want to untangle here that I think is important. Belonging is contextual. That means it matters differently to different people at different times. Just because you or me aren't experiencing belonging uncertainty doesn't mean other people aren't. That's such a basic idea, but we see it as at the core of equity. And for those with dominant social identities who don't often reflect on their identity and their privileges, it's a really difficult message to convey. So this is part of that hard self-equity work. Individuals with social identities that are systematically left out are more likely to experience belonging uncertainty. And that uncertainty is more likely to peak at the start of new social situations that are correlated with their systematic exclusion. For example, a Black male student at the start of a new college math class. Belonging is the science of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as college educators committed to serving students through education, it's central to the work that we do. So before I turn things over to Mike, I want to point out that our project is focusing on belonging in asynchronous online classes. We believe in the potential of online learning to remove barriers that have prevented millions of people from attending college. We believe online classes can be warm, welcoming, and supportive and foster belonging for all students. So I'm going to pass things over to Mike now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Michelle. One of the first things that we looked at as we got into the research on this issue that was really striking to us is how fast students, well, all of us really make up our minds about whether or not we're in a safe space. And that is as quick as 30 seconds. One study in the early 1990s showed students in college course just 30 seconds of an instructor without sound. And in that short amount of time, they could accurately predict I'm going to put the study in here in the chat so you can check that out. They could predict the course evaluation at the end of the term, which is really staggering to us when we heard that. I want to put another study about 10 years later in the early 2000s. This one struck me as even more powerful because that study said in 1/10 of a second, looking at just still images of faces in 1/10 of a second, that people felt like they could assign characteristics to the person they were looking at in terms of trustworthiness or not. So given that super quick ability to identify a safe location, which I think is coded into us kind of from our Paleolithic ancestry as a survival skill, really, that when we're in a space now, we still have that ability to make quick judgments about whether or not we're in a safe place. So let's go on to the next slide, I think, Michelle. With that information in mind, we really thought that the first couple weeks of a course, the first contact that we have with our student, that initial right out of the gate, even before they come into the course, they are testing us. Am I in a safe place? Is this going to be a good class? Do I belong here? All of those things are really important to a level that we think maybe not a lot of instructors are really acutely aware of. So in the academy, this is something that we pay a lot of attention to and talk about. And Kim is going to show us one of the early ways that we connect with our students, and I'll let you take it from here, Kim.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so now to do that, we'd like to engage you in an activity. And so I'm going to read the scenario here. Imagine you are a new student at your college. You have 5 classes starting next week, and 3 of these are online. You've never taken an online course and are feeling a little uncertain about what's ahead. But the week before your class starts, you receive an email from one of your instructors with an encouraging note to click on the link provided and explore the course's liquid syllabus. Okay, that's what we hope you to dive into. And here's your task. What we'd like you to do is scan the QR code with your phone's camera. We'll also add a link in the chat to open the liquid syllabus example. And then we'd like you to take about 2 minutes to just explore it through the lens of a student. Then identify 1 or perhaps 2 things that make you feel more at ease as you explore the liquid syllabus. All right, so we're going to have 2 minutes for us to do that, and let's get started. So maybe about another 30 seconds or so. Hey, let's come back together. I know you probably want to explore this a little bit more. I know every liquid syllabus that I dive into is just so fascinating because they're all unique. Okay, so what you've just experienced is one of the 8 humanizing elements, which is the liquid syllabus. Now we're going to invite you to scan this QR code on the slide deck, or you can click the link that we'll add to the chat. And we're going to go to Mentimeter. And on this app, we're going to share, hopefully we're inviting you to share 1 or 2 things that set you at ease as you opened up and explored the liquid syllabus. And we'll give you a moment to grab that QR code or click on the link, and we'll head over and go live with the Mentimeter. All right. So already we're seeing responses in here. Happiness. Yeah. Fighting a welcome video. I loved her showing Angie, the instructor that created this, showing herself as a child, a young child in that video right from the start on the campus that she works at. So that was really neat. Lack of medieval language, right? So being like more transparent and authentic, I would say. Yeah. And the personal details. Oh, these are wonderful. And I'm also seeing messages in the chat too. Oh, we need the QR code again. If you can get that to the chat. Michelle, thank you. Oh, she got it. And we'll pop back and look at a few more after you get the QR code. Visually appealing. Yes. The different colors and just the format. Yeah, I love the quote too, that I'm here for you. Yeah, just her saying that, the instructor saying that. Dogs in her video. Yes, yes. Personal things, right? Those personal things that we share with our students. Yeah, and works on a phone. Definitely. So many amazing things. Wow, we could probably spend a lot of time just on this slide looking at all of your wonderful submissions. Easy to navigate, not intimidating, relatable. Okay, well, I think we in honor of time, we want to make sure we get to the next, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the liquid syllabus. Thank you so much for sharing. This is wonderful. I'm going to go back and read those. Okay, so a few details about the liquid syllabus. We didn't really unpack it for you, right before you dove in, because the idea was to for you to be able to explore it on your own without us giving you guideposts, if you will, or descriptions. But what the liquid syllabus is, it's sent out to students before a class starts. Again, sending those cues of inclusion and really emphasizing the instructor as what we call a learning partner. And generally the liquid syllabus, it's public, it's accessible, and it's mobile responsive on a web page, and often created with Google Sites or some other web authoring tool. And it's also designed to support multiple means of representation and centers on those verbal and nonverbal welcome cues, just again, like as Mike was talking earlier about that high opportunity zone. So just before the course begins. And let's take a look on the next slide and see how amazing that these liquid syllabi look on a phone. So these are just a few, and you'll have those links, of course, in the slide deck, so you can dive into those and explore them. But we know that many of our students use their phone for learning. So when we set it up in this way to be mobile responsive and accessible, students can have that quick, easy access. And so we invite you again to dive into these liquid syllabi, and note that each one of them is very, very unique, and it's designed that way to support and communicate the instructor's authenticity to their students. So instead of, everybody using the same template and creating the same thing, it's really very much a unique personal thing, and that's what it's designed to do. All right, next slide, please. Okay, let's see. So on this next slide, we're going to look at, there we go, thank you. We're going to look at just kind of a brief overview of the 8 research-based humanized online teaching elements, because we said we had 8, right? So the liquid syllabus is one of those. And again, these elements are designed to send the message to students that they belong and that they're part of a learning community. And as Mike noted earlier, we see these elements in that high opportunity zone during, weeks 0 and 1, when there's all that sort of mystery and oftentimes anxiety coming into a new course. So you can learn about these and also see other elements and looking at educator showcases where they showcase all the elements that they created when they participated in the academy on our Humanized website. And I think Michelle's probably going to drop that in there as well. And so you can look at all of those and kind of get more of a feel for the different ways that people design the different elements. But for now, Mike is going to take us into a deeper dive into a few more of these elements. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Yeah, so early on in the grant, we all met at the International House in Berkeley, and not at the International House of Pancakes, but at the iHouse that is on top of the hill at the UC Berkeley campus. And we had a really interesting meeting with all of the people involved in the various grants that were issued in this cycle. And one that we heard that was really struck us, and me in particular, because I keep coming back to it, is evidence for how important that initial touch, that initial contact really is, because students, especially from minoritized groups, maybe a higher sense of imposter syndrome, a little bit more nervousness, all of the amygdala pieces of the brain are more highly engaged and looking for safety. And one of the pieces of evidence that was shown to us, it was kind of an offhand sort of remark at that meeting, was there was a MOOC class, you remember those, right, at Stanford. And they realized that they had a chance to kind of look at and study small changes that they could make in the registration for these MOOCs. And because they had huge numbers of people registering for them, it was interesting to see what minor changes could have in terms of impact for registration. So they had an advertisement. The one on the left is the one they started with for a statistics course. And we probably are aware of the kind of the bias against women, maybe in math classes. So they thought, what if we made a change just to the advertisement course card? Keep everything else the same. And what you see on the right is the changed version that they tweaked. And that one change had a 26% increase in what they call the click-through rate for people registering for that course. So when we saw that, we thought, oh my gosh, this is so significant. And it ties for us to Canvas. And let me put there's that study, by the way, if you want to look at it, really interesting one, I think, that again, small changes have a giant impact on students, especially initially, coming right out of the gate, that first contact. So let's look at the next slide. We're thinking about how does this work with the course card. Is that working, Michelle? Is it? Let me just look. There we go. Yeah, thank you. So the course card itself, if we have the initial contact being the liquid syllabus, that's the first touch. Now the student is registered for the class. The second touch is going to be the course card, and they are scanning. Remember, 1/10 of a second or 30 seconds max. They're looking for safety. And what we used to see often is, like, in a Canvas course card from instructors is, what is my course about? If I'm teaching chemistry, you better believe I'm going to have like beaker bottles on my course card. I was teaching a how to teach in Canvas course at the time. And so, okay, I need a keyboard. That's what the content is all about. But after looking at this research, I realized, no, well, that is not the point. The point is not the content. The point is the emotional safety. That's what we're going for here. So if we could look at the next click, it will show us another course card. So I changed my course card, and the research has shown that having more inclusive imagery is definitely helpful, a good thing to do for students. And the other thing about this course card that I think you may notice is that she is laughing, and laughter is the ultimate safety cue. So we really, I think, those early touches, if what I like about that image also is that she does have her hands on a computer. So they're the best of both worlds is safe, happy, inclusive imagery that also touches on the content of the course. That's the magic combination, I think, right there. So let's go into the third contact now. This is all in the initial, that very important initial set of steps. Now they're clicking on the course card, right? Now they're going into the course card. You might think of it like the welcome mat that's on the front door of the course. It says, welcome, you're going to be good inside my home, our safe place. Now you're in just stepping inside the house. And the first thing you want to see when you get in there, the homepage, what you're looking at, again, needs to focus on safety and happiness and security. I've done a lot of work. Some of you are aware of the OEI rubric and course review and peer online course review, and it has put me in a position to look at a lot of courses. And as a trainer also at my own college, I've seen many courses, and what teachers tend to want to do, instructors tend to want to do on the homepage is jam the homepage with all kinds of information that they think the student might need, written information especially. So you'll get all kinds of stuff there about how important it is to make the first meeting. And if you don't make the first meeting, then you might be dropped from the class, and on and on and on and on. That is a mistake from the research that we've looked at. What we want on that homepage is simplicity. You're going for an emotional feeling. Emotion before content. Make sure that homepage is a safe place. So you see my picture there. I spent a little time with that. I had just gotten my hair cut when I took that picture. I used Canva to help. Some of you know Canva. If you don't know Canva, you should try it out. A free place that makes you into a designer, even if you're not. And make the thumbnail of your video, and it is a video, make the thumbnail something kind of friendly and nice that they can look at, not the auto-captured first thing that is automatically generated as a thumbnail. Sometimes it's not so flattering. And then make the instructions really clear. You can see I have number 1, please watch. Number 2, then. And I have instructions even, because it's not really clear if you look at it that is a video. So how do I click on it? Like where do I click to get that thing to play? So all of this is for emotional safety. And that's the third contact in a course. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle.
Whew, I haven't done this whole big presentation with lots of people presenting in chat. I used to do it all the time, and I'm just realizing right now how out of practice I am. Gosh, my brain is going a mile a minute here. Thank you so much for all the activity in the chat. I've been trying to respond to what I'm capable of responding to. So we have been running research alongside of our project, and the research is rather complex. We've done a really deep dive into qualitative research with our first grant project. Some of the things that we found are highlighted on the slide here, but we have a research brief that is linked at the bottom of the it's linked at the bottom of the slide. And if you actually go to where we have our slides, which I'll put in the chat real quick again. humanizedol.org/Peralta. Just below our embedded slides under quick links, you'll find a direct link to the research brief, and so you can read over it there. But through our study, we did correlate. We found that students who were enrolled in online classes being taught by faculty who completed the academy, those students reported high rates of belonging. And we saw high rates, particularly high rates of belonging among our racially minoritized students in those same classes. And there were higher increases in belonging for those racially minoritized students from week 2 to the end of the class. So in general, we know that racially minoritized students do start with more belonging and certainty. So to see the bigger increase between the start and the end of the class was something to really celebrate and something we're very excited about. We also saw significant increases in faculty and lots of different factors. We measured their perceptions and their motivations and their teaching behaviors. We saw an increase in instructor-reported interactions with students before compared to after completing the academy. So they're interacting more with their students. They've reported being more aware of students' individualized needs, as well as their interest in supporting those differences. And they also reported an effort to intentionally be approachable in their online classes, to be thinking about the way that students perceive them, not just about the way that they want to be portrayed to their students, but actually going through the efforts to construct an approachable presence in their online classes using the new skills that they acquired in the academy. That digital fluency is really important, as well as flexibility. And the last thing I have noted here is there was an increase in their awareness of the impact that their teaching has on student performance and equity gaps. And of course, that's kind of like the initial shift that has to happen before any of this other work can happen with changes in teaching and learning. So we're very excited about those findings that we're starting to see come out of the project. And we have
with their students.
As a result, a video that we're going to show a little clip of. This is featuring a faculty member and a couple of students from Bakersfield College who is a partner in our project.
Of me taking the academy, I would say one big change I see is an increase in communication with my students. So if something sort of goes wrong with them taking the class, and sometimes they might just silently unenroll and disappear, now they reach out to me, and I've seen a major increase in retention due to that.
So I'm hearing that you can't see the video, is that right? Oh, that's so unusual. Okay, let's try something different then.
My to-do list used to look like this.
Okay, sorry about the ad.
Projects back to back, and I would waste so much time with
Can you see it now?
As a result of me taking the
Can we see? Okay, then only some people can't see it. Okay, let me start playing it again here.
academy, I would say one big change I see is an increase in communication with my students. So if something sort of goes wrong with them taking the class, and sometimes they might just silently unenroll and disappear, now they reach out to me, and I've seen a major increase in retention due to that increase in communication.
There was a video in the liquid syllabus that, Professor Choate took the time to sort of introduce herself, give us a breakdown of like how the class was going to work, what to expect. Seeing Professor Choate in that video just helps me feel less anxious.
It matters that an instructor cares, because my first year here, I was super overwhelmed. I didn't know how to communicate. I thought I was organized already, but I had no idea. If you don't have a support system, you feel like you want to give up. There are students that were in my classroom that would want to ask, but they just didn't.
Professor Choate actually has one of the nicest layout and Canvas that I've ever seen. It was really organized. She provided additional lectures that we could watch videos on and sort of just dive a little deeper into the topics to understand. The class was by far one of the most challenging classes I've taken so far. So having the opportunity to go back and listen to her lectures once more made it that much easier to overcome some of the challenges.
So it was nearing the beginning of the semester, pretty much just Professor Ayuk and I in the lab, and he then wanted to ask me what my major was, and was probably interested to see that I was not an engineering major or a physics major or anything related to that. Fast forward 5 quizzes into the semester, I received a quiz back. Instead of commentary on how I could improve or something with an exclamation point at the end, consider majoring in 3 different engineering majors or physics, all caps. A few weeks following that, he then proceeded to ask, so did you consider changing your major? And so I thought that was very encouraging and very motivating. Now, no, I didn't change my major, but just knowing that my efforts were paying off in this course that was difficult for me was definitely very rewarding.
One time I got a lower score on my second exam than my first exam, so she reached out to me and asked me if everything was good. As a student, we have a lot of things going on in our life. It showed that she doesn't only care about my learning, but me as a human being. And because of that one little thing that she reached out to me, that made me do even better on my third exam.
It's normal not to understand things the first time.
I'm going to pause that there for the sake of time. And I hope that that video, even though it digs into some different aspects of teaching and learning than what we showcased here today, it really does a wonderful job of stressing the importance of those interactions with instructors. And we're seeing the instructors have these takeaways, these aha moments from the academy. And even though it is an academy designed for online classes, we hear repeatedly over and over that they're applying these approaches to all of their classes, regardless of modality. And that's a really powerful takeaway for us to remember in higher education. We're not focused on improving courses, we're focusing on improving teachers. And teachers teach in all modalities today. So that's been an important takeaway from our work too. So the Academy has been shared in the Canvas Commons. If you are a Canvas user, you can go to the Canvas Commons and search for #Humanizing STEM. You'll find a version of the Academy, the full 6-week Academy, as well as many of the individual assignments and other resources that have been shared there that you're welcome to adopt. And you're invited to learn more about the project at humanizedol.org. That's our research site. And we just have a featured list of our project team members here, which I'm not going to read, but I certainly wanted to include them to some capacity. And that is our last slide. We've got a few minutes left. And if there's a question that we can answer, Kevin, anything that's floating around that hasn't been answered, we'd be happy to do so.
It does look like the majority of questions in the chat were answered. I've been kind of following along as we've gone, but maybe if people want to use these last couple minutes to pose any final questions or thoughts, inspiration that this session has offered, please share it now. While you all do that, I am going to put a link in the chat for our program at a glance so that people can start thinking about the next session as well, which will begin at the top of the hour. But for now, let's stay here, stay present, check out what questions and answers, and please join me in thanking Michelle, Kimberly, and Mike for sharing their work and helping us to get this conference off to a great start.
Sorry, I'm not actually able to find that slide right now. But if you go to humanizedol.org/Peralta, you can get access to the slides.
And thank all of you.
Yes, thank you for being here, for all your great questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Great. Well, then I will stop the recording after thanking you three one last time. Amazing work. And as people in the chat were saying, those student perspectives make such a big difference in our attitudes as teachers, but also in our understanding of what really helps them. And hopefully people will join us tomorrow for our featured session, which is a panel of students from Peralta Community College District. So with that, I will sign off and encourage everyone to find a session at the top of the hour.